Silence the audience. We need an audience. We should do a live tour. What do you think about that? I really think we talked about it.
Yeah.
We should do a live tour.
I would love that.
Okay, guys, if you're listening to this episode, first question, number one, this is the Q&A episode. Welcome, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sean and Sack Show. Should we go on tour? Should we do a live tour? I think that'd be really fun. We could do a live podcast tour, like pick a bunch of cities. Remember that RV we looked at the other day?
Yes.
Maybe that's why I should buy it.
I think that was a brilliant idea.
Guys, leave us a comment. Shoot us a DM. If you're listening to this right now, let us know if this sounds like a good idea. And we could do like a 2-hour evening with you and I, and we do a podcast, and we talk.
Date night with Sean and Sax.
Date night with Sean and Sax.
Aww.
And whiskey.
And whiskey.
And whiskey. That'd be
That's
great.
lovely.
That would actually be a great idea.
Y'all better vote
I
yes.
come up with great
I'm,
ideas.
I'm in.
I like this idea. Okay, guys, welcome to the show. We're going to get down to it. This is a Q&A episode. I like these episodes because we get, dozens and dozens and dozens of questions throughout the week. Just inbox, people DMing me, people DMing you, relationship questions, parent questions, kid questions, all kinds of questions.
Yep.
And I feel like we have really cool ideas on our topics when we talk about, but being able to do the Q&A episode is fun because it's like we get to cover 20 different topics or as many topics.
Well, we get right to our
want.
audience. Like
Yeah.
you guys are the ones that are listening to us. So
Yeah.
for us to answer your questions, it's really
It's
to
cool.
the point. I love
We
it.
love, it's weird because like we want to just do our thing and talk about our thing, but then being able to talk about your thing and everybody's thing.
But the world doesn't revolve around us.
Sure it does. I think it does. I think everybody listening thinks and should think the world revolves around them, right? We actually have, you guys can't see this right now, but our kids are sitting here, Bryn and Will at least, 2 of the 5, and then they're going to leave in a minute. But what do you guys think? Should we do a tour? Yes? Will's like, yeah, I don't care. Just go do whatever you want. Will really doesn't care. He's 15. He really doesn't care about anything other than a girl. I'm not even going to call her your girlfriend, bud. But Will cares about football and a girl. What else do you care about, Will?
Food. Will cares about food. Number 1.
Food. We have so many funny stories about food with Will. It's great. If you have a teenager, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Will's 15 going on 25, and he's great. And he shaves his chest, and I keep telling him not to shave his chest. He just rolled his eyes. It's so funny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Q&A episode. Let's get into it, babe. We have a bunch today.
Let's
so
go.
We're going to get right to the point. Please, no crying today, no emotions. I need you to get right to the point. Don't fuck around today, okay? We have a lot of questions.
I'll do my best, but you know the woman you married.
I do. So I'm just going to cut you off. How about that? Done. You know the man that you married. There you go. Okay. First question, number 1, and we'll both take these however we want to do. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
This is a big one. Cutting ties to parents/family because of alcohol, and basically I keep letting my kids down. Cutting ties to parents. Let's reframe this a little bit and talk about cutting ties to family, to parents, whether it's because of alcohol, whether it's because of addiction, whether it's because of bullshit.
It's just toxic behavior.
Cutting ties with family and parents is such a massively difficult thing for people. Talk about it. Answer, baby.
Okay. Well, before, I would say, for me, before I cut ties, I set boundaries with myself and what type of lifestyle I wanted, what type of environment I wanted my kids to grow up in. And there was a lot of people in my family that didn't end up fitting in that boundary space. And a lot of it wasn't really cutting ties or removing people. It was just I didn't put my children or me in a place to commingle with these people in my life.
Bingo.
So there was no drama, there was no guilt, there was none of this. It was just we went on and did what was best for us.
Yeah, it's so easy to do this, yet it's so difficult for people to understand it. I'm going to use something really easy for people to understand as a reference, like Facebook. Okay, if you have people that show up on your timeline every single day that are dramatic, that are bullshit, that are just all kinds of crazy, you know that you've chosen to put them there, right? You've chosen to hit the follow button and have them show up on your timeline in your space. Yeah. It is a choice. I've shared this with people for years. You said the same thing. If there's drama in your space, it's because you're inviting it there.
Yep.
Like
Amen.
no one is making you to have mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, cousin, boyfriend, girlfriend show up on your timeline. Just like no one, you're not required to have these human beings in your life, even if it's mom, even if it's dad. Like we had a really interesting, I don't want to say interesting agreement, but like when you and I got together, you and I think we're at a level that we realized this is our game.
Yeah.
It's me and you. When you and I got married, I didn't marry your family. I didn't marry your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. They're all part of the game. That's just fine. But I didn't marry them. I didn't marry their stories. I didn't marry their past. I didn't marry your connection to them. I married you for you. Right. I married you because you and I were going to create our own world and our own family. And I think it's something for people to understand that, you know, when you're married, when you're in a relationship, you have family, they have family, but you are your own family. Yeah. And anytime somebody comes inside of your space, into your world to fuck with that, that's without question, like you two together. And this is something I know you and I are very good at is I've got your back, you've got mine. And I don't care what your name is. I don't care if it's the same last name as mine. You come in my space or my wife's space or our space together and you fuck with it at all, like that's you and I versus whatever that is.
Right.
Does that make sense? There's another question here that said, how do y'all deal with deep family issues such as disrespect between the mother? Kind of goes on to the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
same thing.
If you have issues and drama in your space, and this is a big question. I'm going to spend enough time on this so like people really understand that, you know, their question is, well, it's my mom. Well, it's my dad. I can't just cut my dad off or my mom off. You absolutely, certainly fucking can. You absolutely fucking can. There is, if your relationship with a human being is tied to social media, I'm just going to use this as an example again. If you unfollow or you block somebody because they're toxic and their reaction to this is one of a child yelling, screaming, bitching, moaning, oh, you're going to block me on social media? Yeah, motherfucker, I'm going to block you. You're toxic. I don't want you in my space. I have zero bandwidth, like zero tolerance whatsoever, as do you.
Yeah.
And we firsthand saw this when Saxony and I first got together. There were some people in Saxony's space who, if you know my wife, you know that she has an amazing charitable heart and she wants to help everybody that she can. And there were some people in her space that didn't need to be there. There were some people in her space that were ridiculously toxic, that were very, very, very bad for her. I'm not going to say bad people. They're struggling tremendously in their life, and they were just shitting all over her. And I watched and I saw it, and I just questioned you. Why are these people in your space? And you told me, like, I bought these kids, or this family's kids Christmas presents. I helped potty train their children. Like, this is a family that you were connected to deeply for many, many, many years. They were just very, very, very toxic. And when you chose to kind of move away from them, they lashed out. Yeah. Lashed out major. And they created fake accounts on social media and started calling you every name under the sun, bringing up your past, doing a whole bunch of shit. But I could say without question, like you and I fortifying our home against everyone. Yeah. Everyone has been one of the best things I think that we've done. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to add too is you can still love. 100%. You know, this is a hard thing. It's we get stuck with between like, what's my blood? You know, it's my family. And you can still love these people and not have them in your space. 100%. You can still love them and not see them but once a year. Yep. Like it's not a decision of if I love them or not, or if you. So you don't have to have a hole in your heart necessarily. You can still give them love, and however that best suits you and your forward expansion. Yeah, I agree. All right, good answer, babe. Next question. This is from my buddy Caleb. Actually, Caleb, I'm glad you asked this question. Oh, yes. You know, Caleb, he said, how did you finally learn to love yourself? What does that look like practically or tactically? How did you finally learn how to love yourself? Caleb, it's an everyday thing. Yeah. I found love, and I continue to grow love for myself every day. And the number one tool I've given myself, well, I'm going to say two, is grace and forgiveness. I give myself an amazing amounts of grace to just because I'm a human. Yeah. And I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've been a toxic person, and I've had toxic traits. And the best thing that I've learned is there is nothing that I need to shame myself for. Yeah. And to just forgive and to choose to be better. And just in doing that, the level of compassion has
transformed my love for myself. And some days are hard. Some days I don't necessarily feel like I love myself. So it's an ongoing journey.
I love that answer. I spent a lot of my life trying to fit in a box. I spent a lot of my life trying to understand what the rules of acceptance were. I spent a lot of my life trying to appease people versus appeasing myself. And I would say probably this didn't really sink in until I was almost 40 years old, when I realized, like, God gave me gifts that are different than other people's. And it doesn't make me good or me bad or them good or them bad. God gave me gifts. And I spent a lot of my life like sequestering these things, like pushing them down, hiding them, because it made other people uncomfortable. And what I realized after years and years and years of this battle back and forth is, like, I really came to, and this sounds interesting for probably a lot of people, but I came to really understand what Jesus was about. I started to really try and like understand who Jesus was. And what's interesting is a number of years ago, I had a really cool, call it a revelation, call it an epiphany, where I was like envisioning Jesus, right? I've read the Bible dozens of times. I was an ordained minister. I get the whole game. But I saw Jesus as like a lot like me, in the sense that Jesus was a weirdo. I mean, for a lack of better words, he was an obscure man based off of the scriptures, if you will, and my interpretation of them and what I saw. He walked town to town to town speaking this message that was foreign to people, that a majority of people like pushed away. A majority of people said that he was a nut job, and a majority of people laughed at him. They mocked him. They threw shit at him. They kicked him out of towns. Like, yo, you're a fucking freak, man. Yeah. And all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, I kind of feel like Jesus in a lot of ways. I'm sharing these messages and I'm sharing these things. And back then they had, feather pens and papyrus and scrolls. And now I have a computer in my hand called a cell phone. We're both sharing these messages, and we're both doing what we feel compelled to do, which is what he did. And I realized, like, holy shit, like, if Jesus had tried to fit into the masses and not be obscure and not share what he did, he wouldn't be who he is. He wouldn't be a hero of all time, a true divine figure of salvation, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I took on this idea that perhaps I, in a lot of ways, am just like him, just living 2,000 years later. And so I started to really love who the fuck I was, and love these things that for many, many, many years I looked at as weird, obscure, odd, not fitting in, not part of the masses. And I started to really fucking appreciate these quote unquote weird things, these obscure things about myself. And like you said, it's gotten deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper as I become more and more and more in love with the process, in love with who I am, more connected to divinity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good answer.
That was a long answer to that question, but that was good, yeah.
We all have those gifts, and I think it is to me, it's like I picked an archetype at a very young age of what normal was.
Yeah.
And I definitely picked the wrong normal for me.
Yeah.
Because I was never going to be that normal. And I realized that, like, that set me back.
Yeah.
So accepting our gifts is huge.
I think it kept, I don't want to say that it set me back, and maybe it didn't set you back, it just kept you closed. It kept you like hiding. Almost like, imagine again, I'm not telling you what to believe about Jesus or not, but I believe that Jesus was a man who came and had a divine mission, and he was so different because he listened to what was inside of him. He listened to the divine voice that came from his Father. And so whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. What I'm talking about is, like, this is a guy who felt compelled, was drawn to speaking something different than what everybody else was speaking. And I have felt for years and years and years odd that I share some of the things that I share, that I'm so open with my life, that I talk about things the way that I do. And it was really understanding him where I started to go, oh shit, like if these are gifts, then I would be like almost, slapping God in the face for giving me these gifts. And if they're gifts, then why not be appreciative of them? Yeah. And I started to truly love them. For most of my life, I hated a lot of these things. I tried to shut a lot of these things off. And I started to really, really, really embrace the fact that these are gifts that God gave me. And so I'm going to use them. And dude, when you get to that place, in my opinion, when you get to a place where you truly love who the fuck you are, and you truly like have the ability to hear and to listen, dude, it's such a freaking magical place, because you not only are you experiencing such cool divine reality, but like you fucking love it. Like I love it. I love the weird. I love the obscure. I love these feelings where I'm like, whoa, for real? Like, you want me to go do this? You want me to say this? You want me to go talk to this person? I become infatuated with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that answers the question, but I want to kind of cap that off and encourage people to like really try and understand that, like, you might think you're weird. You might think you're odd. You might think that what you do, how you feel, what you say is this weirdness that makes you an outcast, but perhaps that's actually a beautiful gift. Perhaps that's exactly where you need to be, is an outcast, just like Jesus was an outcast. Anyways, all right. I could go on and
Preach,
on and on.
baby, preach.
I could go on and on
I
with
love
that
it.
one. All right. Here's a good one. How do you keep your children from becoming entitled or spoiled due to your wealth?
I just like our kids are not here
The
anymore.
kids bounced for this one. They're like, fuck that, Dad. Can I have the Lambo? Where are the Lambo keys? Dad, can I go drive the Lambo? So how do you keep your children from becoming entitled or spoiled due to your wealth?
I would say that something that you and I do is we have always, or we're really good at, I don't know if we've always done it, but we're really good at involving our children in our, the building of our empire.
Yeah.
I did it when I was single. You did it when you were single. We do it together as a family now. Like, we really involve the kids to the point of, like, they understand the wins, they understand the losses. Like, they're really exposed in a way that, like, is educational. So, and also they work for us. So they get to see, like, the day-to-day process of building a company. And I think with that is, you know, we give them a paycheck and we give them resources to be successful, but our children don't have trust funds. They don't drive Lamborghinis when
That
they're
they know
16.
about.
I know, right?
Well,
you know,
my
it's
son technically drives a Lamborghini at 15.
once in a while. Okay, he doesn't drive because he doesn't even have a
I know
driver's
what you're
license.
saying.
So, but you know, it's like we give our kids cars, but then then they pay the insurance and they pay the repairs and things of that nature. So we give them the the foundation of what that looks like, and let them build upon that. And so,
I want to take a different angle on this, and this might tickle a couple people wrong, and I don't really care
you
about
don't do that.
But let me explain
ahead.
something. I got a couple friends who are trust fund babies, and what I mean by that is their fathers were incredibly fucking wealthy and gave them pretty much from the time they were in high school millions of dollars, right? I know all these kids. There's a handful of kids in this specific family that I'm talking about, and they're all good kids. They're all now husbands and fathers and leading good lives and doing good things. I think there's a really, really, really big misconception around wealth and helping your kids and giving your kids shit and this entitlement thing, right? I don't want my kids to struggle. I want my kids to work hard, but there's a big difference between having your child work hard like my son does in my warehouse, packing fucking boxes for 8 hours a day, and struggling. I don't need to put my kid out on the street and have them starving and begging for fucking food to try and teach them humility. I think it's all bullshit. And what I would caution people on is you know, when you don't have very much, or when you're looking at somebody with envy, you're especially somebody who has some money or some wealth, you typically judge and go, oh, those snotty ass little kids. If you've ever met my kids, they're tremendous fucking human beings. And I don't know anybody that would say otherwise about my children. In fact, I get my kids win these awards in school about being like good, like contributing like men and women of society. Like I have messages from teachers that are like, talk about my son being so fucking gracious and saying yes please and thank you and yes sir and ma'am and these things, and that goes a long way. In my opinion, that's the root of what we're teaching our children. I'm teaching my sons to be as young men. I want my kids to fucking win. I want to give my kids as much of an advantage as humanly possible. I want to give my kid a leg up. My kid's 15 years old, and he drives my Lamborghini. I'm in it, of course. But why would I not want my children to have a leg up? And I want to make sure that people fucking get really clear on this, that, you know, just because someone's got money doesn't necessarily mean that their kids are going to turn out to be these entitled little shitheads, right? I know way more people that have wealth, that have amazing children, than some billionaire's kid who's a some junkie, right? That's headline news. You see that shit on TMZ. You read those stories far more often about some rich guy's kid who's a fucking junkie. I know way more wealthy families that have really good, solid children than the fucking junkies. And so for me, I want my kids to have as much of an opportunity, as much of a hand up, not hand out, as humanly possible. And if you're a mom or a dad and you think otherwise, you need to change your way of thinking, because if you want your children to do something different than what you did, you're going to have to fucking do that first. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up with a single mom who worked 2 fucking jobs. You didn't grow up with a whole bunch of money around you. You knew people that had money, but the truth is, like, I want my children to be good human beings, and that means getting them involved in my world, getting them involved in my business, driving my Lamborghini, racing the Baja 500, racing the Baja 1000, having cool shit that they have to take care of. My son's got a dirt bike. He's got to take care of that dirt bike and change the oil, and he gains appreciation for that. Did I buy him a dirt bike? Fuck yeah, I bought him a dirt bike. Why? Because I like to ride dirt bikes, and I'll ride dirt bikes with my kid. So this idea that somehow, some way money is going to ruin your kids is a fucking lie. It's complete bullshit, and I strongly encourage everybody listening into this to make a fuck ton of money and to bring your kids into your fuck ton of money world to show them not only what's possible, but how to be a good contributing member of society with a fuck ton of money.
I agree. It's mindset.
Amen.
Get it.
Fire, baby. All right. Here. Okay, this is funny. I had to ask this one. We don't even need to take it. The question was, when sex stops in a relationship, what does it mean? Well, it means that you're not getting laid. How about that? It means you're not freaking getting laid.
It means you are now officially friend zoned.
You're friend zoned. If sex stops in a relationship, let's be serious. I mean, let's call that what it really is. Like you're not having sex, right? And if you're not having sex and you want to blame that on somebody else that you're quote unquote apparently in a relationship with, I think you probably need to check that reality of whether or not you're even in a relationship, friend.
Yeah.
Sex is
if it stopped, start it then.
Yeah.
Just turn the car back on and go.
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer this question. I just thought it was fucking hilarious that somebody asked that. Here's the next question. I circle both of these because they're both like, okay, the question is, how do you bring back passion in a relationship? Wife says no spark, too much history. This is asked by a man. Said, how do you bring back passion in a relationship? The wife says no spark, too much history. Can I say something about this really quick?
Yeah.
But I want you to answer this, okay? I'm going to speak really, really, really bluntly and directly.
I'm shocked.
To you human beings right now, to you beautiful souls, okay? If passion stops in my relationship, that's my fucking fault. There will not be a day that I stop having sex with my wife. There will not be a day when all of a sudden I relinquish my desire of fucking to some emotion. Let's be really candid right now, right? The truth of the matter is, I don't ever foresee that happening in our relationship because I'm never going to stop having sex with you. I'm never going to stop taking your clothes off and fucking you, period. I'm never going to stop courting you. I'm never going to stop bringing you flowers and doing shit and taking your pants off and playing with your body. Let's call it what it really fucking is. I'm not going to stop that.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden you're a man listening to me right now going, dude, my wife doesn't want to have sex with me. Cool, I'll read your question again. The passion has stopped in my relationship. Newsflash, motherfucker. You stopped being passionate in your relationship. How the fuck do you blame that on your wife or your mailman or the dog or the fucking economy?
Sure. And if there's too much history.
Preach, son.
Right. If there's too much history, then write a new fucking future.
Write a new fucking chapter, man.
Like,
that is
move the fuck. And this is the thing, is like, it's a story. So rewrite the story.
Yeah.
And if she's not going to rewrite the story,
Cool.
you rewrite the story.
Cool.
And if it doesn't end up working, then so be it. But like, you rewrite the story. Take a fucking initiative. Like you said, radical accountability. Take the initiative and write a new chapter and see where that chapter leads.
All right, we're gonna put each other in the spot really quick here. Okay. If I stopped being passionate with you, okay? If I stopped being nice, if I stopped dating you, if I stopped buying you flowers, if I stopped doing all of these things, what would you do? Real talk. Let's talk real fucking turkey here right now.
This girl's not gonna be chill with that because
listen, I want you to give me the raw answer, and I don't want you to butter this up.
We're not going to work.
Exactly. So what would you do?
We're not going to work.
Would you stay with me?
Fuck no.
Okay, guess what? You stop fucking me. You stop getting naked with me. You stop being nice to me. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Straight up.
There's enough people out in the world.
Straight up.
And there's a level in my relationship that I want to always have, like you. That's why we're doing this. Someone else will do that dance with you.
Every single one of you needs to listen to what Sax and I are talking about right now, because this is raw, real shit, okay? You're talking about a couple who is married, who has made commitments and covenants to each other that I'm about, you're about. You give me the cold shoulder. You stop being nice to me. You stop having sex with me. You stop wanting to have sex with me. You stop initiating sex with me. You just flat out go cold turkey, gone, passion done. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Period. I stop doing this to you. I stop being nice. I stop being a provider emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. You're going to fucking leave.
Yeah.
Is there really anything else we need to say on this?
No.
It's that cut and dry. Now we'll get all kinds of people go, well, yeah, all this other bullshit. This is bullshit. We made an agreement together.
And when you get married, I don't expect in 20 years for it to be like not what it was when we were married. I expect it to be better.
Dude,
we're not going backwards. It's only going to be better than the day I married you.
You're going to be weird to have sex with when you're old.
Dude, I'm not.
It's going to be
so
odd.
fucking
You ever
great.
thought about that? What's it like? Are we still going to have sex when we're 80?
Yeah.
That'll be
I already told you.
odd.
Like my grandparents are like.
I know.
They
it's
talk about
weird.
it. It's weird. I have a really open family, guys. But yeah, like absolutely. Yeah. The answer is yes. It's going to be fabulous.
Call us in 40 years and we'll tell you whether or not we're boning when we're 80 years old. I bet you we still will be. I don't know if it'll be every day. I'll have a cigar.
We'll have the shrine, like my grandpa. I shouldn't be talking about my grandparents. My grandparents' shrine, where they look at how hot they were. She's a
okay,
Playboy.
tell everybody. You've already gone open up the Pandora's
She
box.
was a Playboy bunny, and she has these hot pictures, and my grandpa was just this cute Playboy, and like they have this shrine in there. I call it a shrine. It's just a shelf, but they have all these hot pictures of themselves, and
They look at it.
It's a healthy reminder of what once was.
Saxony said they look at it, basically like turns them on, and then they fuck. I mean,
you know what? It works.
yeah, it works. We should have them on the podcast. We should interview those guys.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Let's keep this train rolling. Here's another
Okay,
question.
carry
What is
on.
your strategy for keeping connection tight and not letting things get routine? I'm going to take this really quick, baby.
Take it, baby.
Don't get fucking routine, man.
And have
Like
fun.
if you mix up your workouts and you mix up your diet, mix up your sex. Like, listen, you and I think you and I are new in the marriage game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you and I have both been in relationships that I think I can speak to this, and it got routine. And the reason it got routine is because I wasn't doing anything fucking new. The reason it got quote unquote mundane is because I wasn't fucking out there like learning new shit and doing new shit. And candidly, I didn't have balls enough to be able to like bring that safely to my wife to be able to have those conversations. And so shit got boring. Like you and I have made, I think our past and our experience of being in that reality is what drives us to be frisky as fuck, always doing new shit, always trying new shit, talking about new shit, and just
pulling over
doing
on the
it.
highway.
I was literally, I swear to God, I swear on my children's life, I was about to say the same thing. We literally were at the ranch the other day, and we were joking on the way home. She's like, do you remember this exit? And I was like, yeah, that's where I fucked you. We were driving home one day from someplace, I forget where. She was horny, I was horny. She was like, yo, fuck me. And then we literally pulled over on the side of the freeway. We fucked on the side of the freeway. And that was it. We got back in and we fucking drove home. That was what it is. It's great. Under the stars.
Fact.
Right off the side of the fucking freeway outside of Park City. Done and done. We'll actually take a picture of the exit, and you guys will rename that exit after us. And feel free to have sex on the side of the freeway. It's great in summertime. Lots of stars are out. Sweet Lord. Listen, man. Like, if I want, let's talk practical though, because there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this right now. They're like, yeah, that's cool. You guys are fucking new and da da da. Maybe you've been married 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. Maybe you have sex the same way. Maybe you have the same conversations. Maybe you go to the same restaurant every single night. You got to understand something, man. Like, ladies, let me speak to the ladies, and then I'm going to speak to the men on this. Ladies, there is nothing more exciting to a man than when a woman does something new. Real talk. Like, we are little children sometimes. We're emotionally unstable sometimes. We're emotionally insecure sometimes. Your man walks in the door one day on your normal routine day, and you're standing there butt-ass naked with a glass of whiskey or a freaking dildo in your hand. Some wild shit's going to go down. Let's call it what it really is. There isn't a man on the planet that's not going to be like, babe, I had a long fucking day. I don't want any of that shit. It's going to change the game, right? Now, like, fellas, let's be serious for a second. I would be willing to bet that 99.9% of y'all's wives, women, girlfriends, whatever, you go to the sex store, you come home with some toys, some gizmos, some gadgets, whatever, she's going to fucking play ball, bro. Like, she's going to play ball. You take her to a different restaurant, you try a different drink, you do some shit different. You pop open some new toys, some new this, some new that. You all of a sudden freaking, you've been fucking the same way for the last 10 years. Throw her down on the counter and start doing her on the counter. I promise you, your woman is going to play ball with you. I promise you. Baby, anything you want to say to this? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all.
Like, you could be married for 10 years and be in the same rut. The only way to get out of the fucking rut is to do something different. The definition of insanity is banging your head against the wall over and over and over again, trying to get a different result.
Yeah. And if your partner is showing up like this, if they're trying, like, don't shut them down.
No.
Like, even if it's inconvenient for you, or you haven't showered, or you're blah, 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 the millions of reasons, like, we will dodge an approach, right? Don't do it. Just go with it.
Yeah, 100%. Amen. Preach.
Get it.
Here's another question. How do y'all handle arguments?
We box.
We box hard. I punched her so hard in the face yesterday. It was great.
No, we don't. We don't believe in violence.
Somebody's going to take.
At least
in
our
no, we
marriage.
believe in violence.
In our marriage,
we believe in violence, just not with each other. Like, to that point, we don't argue. We disagree frequently on certain things, but I can't tell you any time that we've ever been like back and forth and arguing. We have fire moments that we disagree. You go your way, I go my way. I handle my shit. I wrap my head around what happened. I wrap my head around the emotions of it. You do the same, then we come back. Yeah. Sometimes we don't need to say anything. Sometimes we wrap up the conversation from a cooler place, but we don't argue. Would you agree? Like,
yes, and if there is like what could be interpreted as an argument, what we do is we're both really good at recognizing that we're just triggered. Mm-hmm. And if you're triggered, you're already blind to what's really going on. You're 100%. So flooded. You're so fucked. You have to know that, like,
totally agree.
You have to just put a pause button on it and come back to it. And we've had some really good rupture to repair conversations.
Totally.
But you have to come to a place where your nervous system you're at homeostasis.
Well, and you have to be honest about it. Like, one thing that we both agreed on is, like, we don't need a safe word, right? Some people have a safe word, and when you pull the safe word, it's like, okay, I go my way, you go. Like, I'll look at you and I'll be like, yo, I'm not in the space to handle this conversation right now, or I'll say I'm triggered, or I'm pissed off, or whatever. And that's like, you're mature enough, and you have enough self-confidence, and you have enough self-respect and self-love to be like, okay, I hear my husband, he's like kind of waving the white flag, like he's not in this conversation right now. That doesn't mean he's leaving me. It doesn't mean we're getting a divorce. It doesn't mean the end of the world. I'm going to go let that motherfucker handle the shit, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. There's times where you've told me, yo, I'm still processing something, and I'm like, cool, this morning you told me that. Mm-hmm. I'm still processing something from a couple days ago, and in my mind I want to be like, what is it? Oh, fucking let's have a conversation. I'm like, no, go handle your shit. Mm-hmm. You come to me when you're ready to come to me. But I think what's really interesting too is, like, we don't let it affect us in a major way. I'm going to share an example. Yesterday we went to the ranch, okay? We had a conversation on the way up to the ranch. There was a little bit, we were covering some heavy shit. Mm-hmm. We got cool with it. We were done. We handled it. You were eating jelly beans. I was eating whatever we were snacking on. We kept snacking. We get to the ranch, and all of a sudden you, like, brought it back up. And I'm like, yo, this was 20 miles ago. What are you talking about? Like, this conversation was done, and I had already moved on to another conversation, but you hadn't kind of wrapped the whole thing up for you. Mm-hmm. And so there was a bit of a moment where I was like, yo, this was a 20-mile ago conversation. Like, what are we still doing here? But we had some closure on that. Yeah. I was like, babe, sometimes we don't need to rehash. And like, when we move on, and I said to you, is there anything that you want to cover with this or talk about with this? And you said no. And I handled my shit. You handled your shit. I was a little bit irked about this because I was like, this was literally like 20 miles ago. We were talking about this. Why are you bringing it up again? And then we got onto the ranch and we just did our thing, and we had an amazing fucking day. We just moved on from it.
And I think we have to respect that, like, when you're in a relationship, you come from different backgrounds. You're different sexes in most most relationships, and like a lot of women need repair the closure. They need to have like just an acknowledgement of like this is what, and a lot of men have discovered like they're just like moving on, and so to just kind of give space and like almost, I don't know what the word is for it, but like just understand that it may not make sense to you, or it may just know that like maybe it just needs to be said.
Yeah.
And then carry on. So
Cool. All right, next question. I like this question.
What is it?
It says, when did it, quote, click for you? What was your defining moment where you said, fuck it, let's do this? You and I.
God told me.
When was your defining moment? When did it click for you?
God told me. I was in a truck with another guy.
Oh, here you go.
I was.
You want to talk about war? Let's go to war, motherfucker. Okay, now tell a story.
I was
like
driving home from a trip, and I was dating multiple people because that's what most of us do when we're dating. Because it's like, I don't know, is it this guy? Is it this guy? And you're doing your thing. And I was in a truck driving home, and I was so uncomfortable. And then I sit there and I was like, why am I so uncomfortable? And I sat with it, and God was literally like, you know where you want to be, so why are you here? And then I got home, and I told you, I was like, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and it was nothing against the other people I was dating. They're all wonderful too, but it was that I knew.
Not wonderful enough, apparently.
Energetically, that you were the man that
Mm-hmm.
I truly wanted to be with all of my heart and all of my soul. And I made that decision. And it doesn't mean we didn't become exclusive that day.
Right.
I made that decision, and it literally just clicked that day.
Yep.
And I honored that. And
everybody's got a story, and it doesn't need to be this romantic, you know, so we were sitting on a mountaintop and this and the other. You were literally with another dude. And God was like, yo, this ain't your dude. Like, Sean's your dude.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay. For me, I was driving home from the racetrack one day, and it's weird, like, because like this is what makes our relationship cool. Is there's a lot of stuff in our experience together that would have otherwise been deal breakers had we been operating with our old operating system.
Yeah.
Like you and I upgraded ourselves and up-leveled ourselves emotionally, psychologically. That some of the things that we even experienced together 6 months prior would have been deal breakers. We would have never talked to each other again.
Yeah.
Or had we been with other people, right? Like literally, Sax has told me this. I knew you were on a trip with another dude and doing your thing. I saw your social media. I know the game, whatever. And the same, almost this very similar situation with me. I was driving home from the racetrack one day, and I remember you texting me. And, you know, we had not, to this point, talked about being exclusive. We were seeing each other more and more and more. And, you know, you were doing you, I was doing me. But energetically, we were both drawing closer to each other. Mm-hmm. But neither of us had that click, that aha moment where it was like, I'm all in. Yours came from that experience, is what I'm saying, is yours came coming back there. But you and I had not met there together yet. I wasn't there yet. I was still like drawing closer and closer to you. I'm driving home from the racetrack, and I get a text message from you, and you said, just so you know, I just got these text messages from this girl who I was still seeing, and, you know, she sent me a bunch of screenshots and and the whole thing. And instantly in my mind, I was like, yep, there it is. Like, she's going to say, oh, you're a piece of shit. I wasn't lying to you. I wasn't deceiving you.
Right.
I wasn't being dishonest to you. We had never talked about being exclusive. I had never said we were exclusive. And in that moment, I was like, okay, this is where she bounces. This is where she explodes. And I remember picking up the phone, calling you, saying, are you good? Do you want to talk about this? And to be totally candid, at the time I was feeling more and more and more feelings for you and stronger connection to you and a lesser connection with other people. And I was pulling away from other people and moving in the direction of you and I. And obviously these people that I was with knew that and felt that and saw that and became very bitter about this, hence sending you text messages. Yeah. And I remember you saying to me, you know, no, this has nothing to do with me. And like that rocked me. I was like, what the fuck did she just say? You said, no, this has nothing to do with me. This is, you know, truly nothing to do with you and I. Mm-hmm. This is obviously something that, as I saw these text messages, I have an emotion around them, but you and I have never talked about being exclusive. You know where I am, and this is what it is. And I remember being dumbfounded. I remember in my mind thinking, like, she's either exactly what I've scripted and exactly what I've wanted, or she's completely full of shit. You're either the best fucking liar and the best manipulator, or you are literally exactly what I want. And in that moment, as I was driving home, I remember like having a conversation with God. I was like, all right, dude, I'm going to try this. Like, I'm in. Like, I had not been willing to be all in. I had not wanted to be all in. I had been terrified of being all in.
Yeah.
And that drive home, as I said to you on the phone, I'm like, all right, cool, come over and let's have some dinner and watch a movie or whatever. You're like, okay. And I remember hanging up, having a conversation with God, like, okay, like you're putting this woman in front of me that this is literally the exact scenario that I've wanted to have with a woman. That was mature, that could have a conversation around intense things with me. It wouldn't be losing her shit little girl stuff that I had experienced in the past.
Yeah.
And I remember telling God, okay, I'm in. And I told God before I told you, I was like, I'm in 100% on this deal. And I'm going to go full tilt with Saxony. Like, I'm going to give her everything. And that in that moment, everything was different. I shut everything else off. You shut everything else off. We both had a conversation and said, let's do this. And I think that's what helped us just, I mean, we got married. Nobody even knew we were getting married. We just fast-tracked the whole thing. It was like, when you get to a certain place, in my opinion, guys, like, especially those of you that are dating, like, time's irrelevant. Time is completely irrelevant. Like, you could meet somebody in 30 days, have a truer connection than somebody that you've known for 30 years. You could meet someone and literally in a matter of a few months, like you and I, be dating exclusively and go, this is literally exactly what I want. So what else are you going to do? Keep looking? Well, maybe there's better, or maybe there's this, or maybe there's that. Like, I literally scripted you. I drew you out. I knew exactly how I wanted everything in my life to look with my woman, and I had it with you. And it was like, okay, I'm either going to self-sabotage this and say, well, let me keep trying, or I'm too scared of this. I put my big boy pants on. I told God, like, all right, I'm choosing this woman. I'm all in. You chose me. You went all in, and that was it. Yeah. The rest is history.
And honestly, the fact that we dated 1.0 and 2.0, it made everything, it was so clear. We had so much clarity because I had seen the growth from the moment I met you to the moment we went all in. And with myself, like, it was this clear roadmap and this clear timeline. To me, it was just like game on. Like, I believed I knew where we had been. I knew what we had built. Like, individually, and I'm like, we're gonna build epic shit together. Yeah. There was no question in my mind.
Well, and you said something to me too that was really, you know, guys, if you know my story, you know my story. If you don't, I don't want to talk about it. I don't need to get into it really, but like, you know, I was in a textbook trauma bond relationship, and I was in a really, really, really unhealthy relationship for a number of years after my divorce. And I remember you saying to me that you weren't surprised why I had trust issues based off of how someone would react. Yeah. Meaning you were looking at this other woman sending you text messages trying to like gain favor of you and be your friend by like throwing me under the bus. And you're like, no wonder you have fucking trust issues. These are the type of people that you've surrounded yourself with. And that was true. Yeah. It was totally true. And when you said that to me, it was like, holy fuck, dude, like, this girl, a completely different level, a different reality, like a completely different human being than I had ever experienced before, a level of maturity that I had never experienced before in a woman. And it was like, it's weird because I don't say as men, but for me, I looked at the scenario of having you there and everything that I had scripted, and it was like, what are you going to do with it? It's like God giving you what you asked for, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do with it now. Hot potato.
Kitty.
I'm going to throw it over here. Oh, shit. I'm scared of that. What do I do? And it was like, no, dude, like, you have two choices. Fuck this up and do what you're used to doing, which is playing small, or go after take this gift, if you will, that God's given you and build with it and run with it. And that was a hard decision. That was a truly hard decision. But what was really interesting to me is you showed up in the exact ways that I needed to trust and to believe. Yeah. And I think, you know, vice versa. There's some experiences that I know that we've both had together in that regard, and things that you've said to me in ways that you've just shown up where that experience never came back up. That experience driving home from the racetrack was never, quote unquote, used against me. It was never used as a manipulative tool. It was never thrown back in my face. It was just like, this is what it is. Here's where I stand. Here's where you stand. What are we going to do? and it completely rewrote the game for me. Hence, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Okay, couple more. This is an interesting one,
fun.
but this was to you. So those questions were from my people. Now let's get to some questions from your people.
Beautiful.
This is from a gal, and she said, "Let's talk about sex. It's not taboo!" ! It can make your relationship 100% better. Now, she didn't ask a specific question.
Yeah.
Other than, let's talk about sex. It's not taboo. So, babe, let's talk about sex.
Sex is not taboo. I'm glad your mind is in that space, girlfriend. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't need. We need to. Let's talk about. No, I don't know if there's a relationship.
We don't need to talk about
without-
like penises and clitorises and sex toys and shit like that. Why don't we talk about like the reality of sex and the desire of sex and the true nature of like what it can or can not be in a relationship?
I think that you.
Because we're going to get to the dildo-ish episode one of these
Right.
days. Sex toy episode.
I don't believe that a relationship is healthy if you're not having sex.
Agreed.
I don't know that you're really in a relationship if you're not having sex. I think you're in a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a beautiful. I mean, that's still a relationship. I don't know that you're in an intimate partnership necessarily. I love sex. Sean loves sex, so we have lots of sex
We have sex every day.
every day. And to me, it's something I look forward to it, and we wake
You
up.
know what's interesting? Keep going. I don't interrupt you. Sorry.
No, we wake up every morning and have sex. That's how we start our day, and then we have coffee, and it's fun because it just sets a vibe for the day, and it connects us, and it's I don't know. I can go on.
I know you're kind of giving me the look. I'm like doing it like the way that you have a routine around work, around your kids, around whatever. We have a routine with sex.
And routine as
But-
like a roadmap
I know,
for success.
but let me finish. What I was saying is, it's not a boring routine. It's not all right. Roll over. Let me fuck you. Let's go to work. Okay, bye. You know what I mean? Like we started having sex in the morning, like when we first started to really date, right? Well, when we were spending a lot more time together, because obviously
When I was sleeping
we weren't
over.
living together. But you know, when you didn't have the boys, you'd sleep over. We would have sex in the mornings. And that has become a routine for us. And what's interesting is the same way that something can be a negative routine, I believe it can also be a positive routine. Now, the only way you build a routine and start a routine is by what? Doing something, right? You want to get bigger biceps, you're doing curls at the gym. If you don't do curls, good luck with the fucking biceps. You build a routine around building up your muscles, guess what happens? You build the muscles. I truly believe, like with you and I, our morning, we can literally, I don't want to say show, but if our days are off, we actually will joke about it and be like, did we have sex this morning? And normally when our days are off, it's because we didn't wake up and have sex.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it's really quick and cool and done, bang, bang, boom. Sometimes we're freaking in bed until noon, normally, until we get really hungry and we're like, okay, we gotta go get food.
It's like a Sunday. That's like a pretty
You know
typical
what I mean?
Sunday.
But I truly believe that the same way you can build a muscle, the same way that you can build a consistency with anything else in your life, you can build the same thing with sex.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to say that it's mundane or it's boring or it's this or it's that. Like, we have sex in the morning pretty much every single day because, number one, we like it. Number two, we're attracted to each other in the morning, and it's good. Number
It's the
three, it
hair.
helps our day. Yeah, it's your fucking wild hair and my wild hair. But, you know, we also have sex a lot of other times,
At
too.
noon and at night.
Nooners and at night and the whole thing. But I truly believe that if you're in a place in a relationship where sex isn't happening frequently, and I'm talking like if you are not having sex at least 2 to 3 times a week, like you probably have something bigger going on in your relationship
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed. But the truth of the matter is the same way that you would build up any type of muscle or anything else, you can build up the connection through sex and can learn to really enjoy it and to really be good at it. And I strongly encourage you guys like to really, really, really open up your communication. I personally have friends and clients who have gone out of their way to cheat on their significant other because they needed that connection, and they literally went down a really dark road simply because they didn't communicate. simply because they didn't talk about sex. And come to find out, both of the partners wanted the same thing, but neither of the partners was coming to the table with the conversation. And I'd be willing to bet that, fellas, 99% of your women who are talking about being tired and talking about this and talking about that, and you're not sexually connected, and she ain't fucking you the way that, Saxony's jumping my bones damn near every single day, it's because there's a bigger communication issue and there's a bigger disconnect. Yeah. So like when you can connect and we're not dealing with drama and bullshit and anything else, like fucking is easy. It's fun. It's happening all the time, right? And so I strongly encourage you guys listening to this to like bridge that fucking gap, but talk about it, man. Yeah. Talk about these things. Have communication around this stuff. Like, you're growing fucking adults, for Christ's sake. Well, like, be talking about sex, man.
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, fucking's great, but, like, it's so good to be naked with the human that you love. Like, that level of just intimacy is so beautiful, and kissing and the flirting and the snuggling and the hormones and the chemical reactions, like, it's all good for you.
Yep.
100%. Like, if you're struggling, like, maybe you're self-conscious about your body, like, try to change your mindset, and like, this is a healthy connection to have. Like, everything else in life is better when our sex is on point, and it's never not been on point. But if I'm talking like if we miss a day or two, like, it's no
sex
joke.
Was gone for 2 days.
I left town for a couple days.
She left town, and we were like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, what is happening right now? We don't even know what to do." I was like a lost dog just wandering around. Like, what do I do with myself? I don't even know what to do. I'm just gonna stay in bed all day because I need to have sex. I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not kidding.
We're not, though.
But when you got home, it was fantastic. Anyways, okay. We'll do an entire episode around sex.
We need specific sex questions, guys.
Yeah, and we're happy to talk about it. We'll talk about freaking blowjobs. We'll talk about, eating the vagina, doing the whole fucking deal. We got no problems talking about any of this stuff. And we're probably not grammatically correct or whatever it's supposed to be politically correct. We really don't give a fuck. We're going to talk about how we like to talk about it, and I think we should do an entire episode on sex, babe.
I think it'd be great.
Done. Okay, a couple more questions and we're done. What's your favorite date night activity? If you had to pick just one that you would both enjoy, I'll let you go first.
I love going to dinner at Sundance.
Okay.
And then after
just
that,
Sundance?
I love going up there.
Yeah,
just
me too.
Because I love the mountains and I love the drive up there. And after that, I don't know if I have a favorite. I love date night. Every Wednesday, I'm like, Sean, I'm so excited giddy. It's date night. I just love to have quality time with Sean.
Dinner at Sundance, what else?
I love to shoot guns with you.
Yeah, what else? Ride the Harley.
I love riding the
car.
Harley.
What?
I love
I can't coach you on this because then it's my ideas. I need your ideas.
This is the thing.
Dinner.
Is I love to eat food. So that's why I said I love to go to dinner at Sundance in the mountains because I love the mountains. So I'm just going to wrap it up to my favorite is to go into nature and to be fed and then to be fucked. Ta-da!
Okay. Fair enough. Pretty straightforward. Like, it's really funny, man. Like, people think that we have this, like, crazy bougie, we're the simplest creatures. Yeah. Like, we don't, on date nights, we do a lot of fun stuff. I love, like, going shopping. And it's not, like, the art of going shopping, but we went to Nordstrom's, and we spent, like, an hour and a half in Nordstrom's just dicking around. We were laughing. We were trying shit on. We were playing with the sunglasses, trying on sunglasses. We were smelling all the colognes. And it sounds so juvenile, but, like, just being out with you, like, shopping, just, it's fun for me. It's hilarious for me. We're like little kids. We're like bantering back and forth about whatever, and we go into the girls section, and I'm looking at these weird fucking girls' shoes and making fun of them, and we're joking around and laughing, and then the men's stuff, and then this and that, and like, it was fun to just be at the mall, like walking around without having a specific like agenda. You know what I mean? But honestly, like, my favorite date nights, we go to dinner, and we talk and talk and talk, and then I love whatever we do after that. I don't really give a shit. I don't know that I have like a specific thing, but I love bath time. Like finishing date night, wrapping date night up with a bath, which we both really, really, really enjoy.
We do.
And if you've ever watched my Instagram stories, like shame in our game. Like, she fills the bubbles
We
up,
love
and sometimes we're in the
bubbles.
bath working and talking and joking and showing each other things, and I'm showing you tractors and you're showing me bougie fucking shoes and all this other stuff, and then we fuck and we have sex. I love it. Our day nights are really simple, man, but I think that's what makes them really fun.
It's because we make them very, very intentional.
Right.
That's the difference. Is we're not on social media. We're not
just
talking about
winging
work. We're not usually even talking about our kids. Like, we're very intentional about being together, and that's what makes it so good.
Well, and two, I think knowing your partner's love language is really important, and your love language is quality time.
Yeah.
Which is why when I bought the boat, I bought you the boat, but subconsciously I knew that your love language was quality time, and I knew that by buying a boat, like, that we would spend a lot of quality time together with the family doing things on the boat, and that's exactly what we've done. And you kind of like wink wink nod nod at me when I bought it. You're like, I know why you buy the boat. Yeah, you wanted a boat, but at the same time I knew that your love language was quality time, and I was like, this is an investment into us being able to have another level of quality time. I think we nailed it.
Indeed. Yes, we did.
Okay, let's see. We hear the terms healing, reparenting, etc., but what does that look like in practice? Let's wrap it up with that one. I like that one.
That's a good one. I am very well educated in this.
Yeah, we hear the terms healing, reparenting, etc., but what does that look like in practice?
Okay,
I love this
so
question, man.
I did an inner child healing course, and it was 8 weeks long. And this is where I was first introduced to this reparenting. I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how we have neural pathways from trauma or from whatever happened, and that they were really set in place between the ages of 0 and 7. So with that is when we get in these positions where we're triggered and we have our trauma come back up, we behave like we did from 0 to 7, which is usually not very wonderful. And learning to reparent in those moments of being able to identify what that inner child needs. And with me, I get very sad and I feel very abandoned. And that's just where I go. And I know that. And so in that space, I've learned there's meditations around this. You can look them up on YouTube, on Spotify, about learning to talk to your inner child. With me, it's like it's all about safety. And truly, it sounds nutty. Like, you're like, I'm talking to myself. You're safe. You are loved. You are safe. But it's a real thing. Yeah. And that has been a game changer for me, because my nervous system takes me down a rabbit hole really, really, really fast. And that's just what happens to us. We're wired that way. And to also have forgiveness and know that, like, we're wired that way, and to make a conscious choice of an effort of learning to rewire those neural pathways. And it's all about, to me, reparenting, but holding that space of knowing that, like, your inner child is throwing a tantrum. It's being able to step outside of yourself and talk to that child and comfort that child and give it whatever its needs are, because, like, you very rarely can meet those needs. And it's not really ever going to come externally very easily. No one ever is going to be able to show up for that little child like you are. And it's our responsibility now as adults that have had inner child issues, or that I think most of us do. I don't know anybody that doesn't have this. But it's our responsibility now to be aware of it and to go in and reparent and comfort and make that inner child feel safe. That way those times of high tantrum are lessened, or at least you're more conscious in the state of it happening.
Good answer. I hate all those terms. I
know you
let
do.
me rephrase that. I don't hate them. I dislike a lot of these terms of inner child and reparenting and all this other stuff. Like, I'm a lot more like linear. I'm a granular kind of a guy. And I don't take anything away from what anybody says, with any Joe Dispenza, what you say. Like, what you just said is absolutely fucking brilliant, because it's true. I like to bring everything down to a super granular level where it's like, I didn't like this as a child, so I'm going to do this as a parent. Like, I didn't appreciate this or feel connected to my father when he was this way, so I'm going to do it this way. Like, I had a father that was emotionally disconnected, who would literally not talk to me for weeks because he just had severe bipolar issues and the whole thing. So I literally go out of my way to communicate with my children so that they know where I am, where I know where they are, where we're connected, even in a place of chaos. I mean, my daughter and I, you know this, are very much alike, and we butt heads quite a bit. But I will never let a moment go by where there is that disconnect of emotions, of communication, of anything, because I experienced that as a child, where my father would not explain things to me. He wouldn't talk to me. And so you can call that reparenting, redoing this, redoing that. I look at shit as just doing it the way that I want to do it as a father. And yeah, I have the stories inside and this and the other, but to me, in order for me to rewrite shit, I just do shit differently. Plain and simple. Like, I want to be more of a father than my father was. I want to be more connected to my children than I was connected to my father. And I have a blueprint of what that looks like. I know exactly what it looked like to not be connected to my father. And so I'm going to literally rewrite the entire fucking thing so that I'm connected to my children.
So I have a question for you, though.
Okay.
So take out the term parenting, excuse me. When you're in a space where you're triggered, how do you, what does the internal dialogue look like to turn, because that's what it is.
Oh, what you said is genius, because I'm the...
I want you to share it with these guys from a male's perspective.
Correct. I'm the smartest motherfucker that I know. So why would I not want to talk to myself, right? I'm the coolest freaking cat that I know, so why wouldn't I want to talk to myself? I fully believe in that. Like, I've gotten to a place where through, experiences and meditation and plant medicine and a lot of these tools that I've been using over the last couple of years to really get to know who the fuck I am, like, I've gotten to a place now where I realize I can self-coach. Like, I know when I'm triggered. I know when I'm being emotional. I know that when you say something to me and I have this feeling inside, I know where my body or my mind want to go, but I have the ability to coach myself to say no, because if you go here, you'll get this result, but you really want this result, so here's where you need to go. I have that ability to do that, and I think most people we hear, oh, I just see red. Well, that's because you're a fucking idiot and you haven't done any work on yourselves. I see red all the time, but guess what? I don't ever go to the red. I go to someplace else, because when I quote-unquote see red, I don't get the desired result that I want. And so, yeah, I'm always talking to myself. I'm always coaching myself. I get triggered. I know how to help myself. I know how to coach myself. I know how to get out of situations, which is why I think our relationship works so fucking well, because we have the ability to communicate that, number one. But number two, we're not playing scarcity anymore. You're not in a place like, oh, shit, Sean's upset, so Sean needs to go for a drive and have a cigar. Oh, crap, he's going to go fuck a bunch of hookers and he's going to leave me, and that's going to be the end of my world, which is where a lot of people are, because they're fucking insecure. They haven't done any work on themselves, right? And they truly are in a place of abandonment and daddy issues and da-da-da-da-da-da. You're in a state where I can say, I'm fucking pissed right now. I'm going to go coach myself. I'm going to go screw my head on right. I'm going to come back. We're going to have some tacos and some great sex tonight. And that's exactly what happens. And so I don't know that I truly understand a lot of the terms that people have. And I think that's, we hear a lot of these things, like you hear narcissism all the time. Well, you and I both know that without a victim, there would never be any narcissist. So, we hear a lot of these terms thrown out generically by people that I don't know really understand them or know them. But I know that people know, like, what these feelings and these emotions are. Sure. And fellas, my communication, my my advice to you, if you give a fuck about it, is to handle your own shit, right? If you were abandoned by your father, then don't abandon your children, right? If you had
don't abandon yourself.
Severe issues, like with not feeling like shit as a child, then do things today that help build up your confidence and your self-esteem. That's how you quote-unquote reparent. Now, this is the reason I don't like the word reparent, because I've never been a parent before. I don't know how to be a parent. I'm learning literally every single day how to be a parent. So how do I reparent anything? I'm literally learning something new every single day, and the only way that I know how to parent is how I parent. I know how I was parented. I know how my father was, but I've only been a dad one time, right? I got 3 kids that this is my first experience and my only experience at being a parent. Yeah. So how do I reparent? I don't know, because I'm doing it the way that I know now. What I love about the conversation is I know what I experienced before. I know it's like being a coach, right? If you
I
had
like
a
that you're
coach,
calling it a coach because that makes sense to you, and like
Right.
reparenting makes sense to me. They're buzzwords,
I
and
get it. I
buzzwords
know.
make it, as you know, it makes
Yeah.
things easy to identify, straight to the point.
Right.
People are like, oh,
yeah, but I think a lot of people too, they also have a lot of misconceptions and a lot of really weird connotations towards some of these words. And so men might be hearing this reparenting. Oh, there's one of those hippy dippy rub crystals on your nipples fucking words again. And I heard that in therapy one time. No, dude, what I'm talking about, fellas, if you're a father, like you've never been a father before. This is your first time being a father. Maybe you got 5 kids. You're not a father 5 different times. You're a father one fucking time, and this is your tribe. These are your people. This is your deal, right? Like, you don't reparent. How do you reparent? You only know how to be a parent one time. What you have, though, is an experience of how you were parented. If it was good, take the good from it. Use the good from it. If it wasn't good, don't do that shit. Do something different, which then means you have to learn how to do those things. So you have to learn how to be that person. You have to learn how to be the father that communicates. You have to learn how to do these things. And that ain't hippy dippy. Like, right? Like if your dad was an abusive asshole, you have to learn how to not be an abusive asshole. If your father didn't communicate with you, like mine didn't communicate with me, you're going to have to learn how to communicate with your children, which is something that you can't put on your children, and you can't blame your fucking daddy for it. It's 100% on you to learn these skill sets to adapt to this new reality and become this new reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I love this because we're both kind of sharing in a different way, but I just clicked in my head that like it's true. I parent my kids in a way that like I needed to be parented. So that's the reparenting, but I include myself because all these things you can self-inflict.
Yep.
And it's like if I don't want to do it to my children or me at any given point in time. There is a book. It's called How to Do the Work. And it's very, very, very clear and to the point on this topic. So if you really, really need some inner coaching, inner reparenting,
it's a huge question, though, man.
book.
And I think it's a very, very powerful question because we hear this all the time. You want your kids to be better. I want to raise my kids better. But a lot of times out there, people are literally rerunning the same story that they've been doing. They just label it different. We see it differently. We think we're different, but we're not that different. I mean, generational experiences are very, very real, right? And if your parent, I'm going to use money for an example. If we can use anything from weight to, if your parents were both fat and you're fat, you can blame it on your genetics and blame it on your parents, or you can look at it and say, well, I'm as undisciplined as my parents were. And chances are, if you break shit down to the common denominator, you're just as fucking undisciplined as your parents are. Because there's a lot of people that can break that chain and break that mold by simply doing something different, right? Yeah. But we blame it on my genetics, my mommy, my daddy, and deeply rooted inside of that, you're no fucking different than your parents. Same thing with money. My parents were broke, and so you're broke, and you have this. It's that you have the same literal DNA, the same literal programming that your parents had. You probably think about money the same way. You probably treat it the same way, and so it's on you to literally learn something new, to expand your skill set, to expand your knowledge. Like, I can't blame being a shitty dad on my father because I have a chance to be something completely fucking new. And so a lot of you listening that look at how you are as a parent and you look at how your parents are as a parent, I bet you're probably very similar in a lot of cases. There's a lot of you that aren't. I'm not making a general blanket statement, which I guess I kind of am, but whatever. You understand what I'm saying. But the truth is, like, a lot of people curse their parents for being shitty parents when the actual reality is you cursing your parents exactly what your fucking parents did to their parents.
Yeah, it is. It's generational thing. I've taken on. It's my responsibility
100%.
To break that. Period.
Which is why reparenting is such a weird thing for me because I only know one way, and it's the way that I'm doing it right now. And I am a huge advocate for me being a different man today than I was yesterday, which means I'm going to be a different father, which means I'm going to be a different lover, which means I'm going to be a different CEO, a different business owner, a different everything today. And that's on me, period, end of story.
And I want my final thought to be is look at your parents, look at whoever your guardians were and see through it. See through why they were whatever trauma happened, why whatever, however they didn't show up for you, and find the empathy of why they are that way and forgive them, because none of us came with an instruction guide. I tell my kids, I'm like, I am a good mom, but
amen,
I'm not
babe.
the best mom, but I'm a damn good one. None of us came with instruction guides. And the best thing I've ever done for my own healing, is I've forgiven my parents for being who they were when I was where I was, when I was little. And knowing that it's, and knowing also like I have overweight people in my family.
Yeah.
And it is my responsibility to have a healthy body, to not carry on, the diseases of obesity and model something different for my children. It is our responsibility to break cycles.
Yep.
As they run rampant in families.
I think that's why you and I get along so well, is I had that epiphany years ago about my father. And I had this just big explosion in my brain where I realized my dad literally raised me the best he knew how to raise me.
Yeah.
Now, you can sit in a place of judgment all you want, mom and dad, and guy, girl listening to this right now and go, well, they should have known. Fuck you.
No.
You're so off base. You should have. No. My father raised me the best that he knew how. And I know different. Doesn't make him bad, doesn't make me good, and none of that bullshit. My dad did the best that he knew how with the skill set and the tools that he had at that period of time in his life. And I consider myself a good man, and I have different tools, and I continue to learn different tools. And so I'm building a new parent, the only parent that I've ever known, which is me. And that's how I look at it. But I think that that's a massive takeaway for human beings. If you're holding on to grudges, you're holding on to anger, you're holding on to resentment towards your parents, your mom and dad did literally the best that they knew with what they had.
Yes.
They did the very best that they could with what they had. And if you say, but, that's on you. That's 100% on you. Your mom and dad did the best that they knew how.
Yeah, and even if they're still toxic, you don't have to, like we started the podcast off with, you don't have to spend time with them. Just love them, move on with your life, do your thing, live your best life.
Okay, babe, one more final question. You ready for it? Do you want to go have a nooner?
It's way past noon, but I'll do it.
Do you want to go have a 2 o'clock? Do you want to go have a 2 o'clocker?
You got it, babe.
All right. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much for your questions. I love these Q&A shows.
You too.
Seriously, you guys are awesome. Great questions. Please comment. Please like. Please share this with your friends. If there's any part of this that you got value from, that you feel like somebody else that you know needs to hear it, please share it with them. And go over to iTunes and to Google Play and whatever else, and please leave us a review. Please leave us a comment there. We really do appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys, and we appreciate the support.
Y'all are fabulous.
All right. Love you guys. Peace. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.